Hola, amores. Me llamo Madison and soy tu maestra de español para hoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Everyday Español. My name is Madison, and I'm going to be your Spanish teacher for today. All right, so I wanna say for in Spanish. Like, this is for you. This is for tomorrow. Oh my gosh, there are two different ways to say for in Spanish. Por y para. Ay, Dios mío, that's giving me a headache. Have no fear, because today's lesson is going to be focusing on the differences between por y para and when to use which in different contexts. Because although they both kind of mean for, they're communicating something kind of different depending on how you use them. So let's dive in. The difference between these two prepositions can be kind of confusing for Spanish students because they both mean for, more or less. So this is a very highly requested topic among Spanish learners because both words mean for, and why are there two different words? So in the video for today, we're going to look at different scenarios in which you would use por and different scenarios in which you would use para and how they are communicating different things depending on how you use them. It's important to note that these words are not interchangeable. You can't just say, today I feel like using por, and then maybe tomorrow be like, I feel like using para. It just doesn't work like that. You use each one in very specific instances, so again, they are not interchangeable. So how I'm going to set this video up is I'm going to give you a scenario in which you would use por, a scenario in which you would use para, and some examples to go along with each. So the first instance in which we would use para is when we are expressing purpose. Okay, I want us to think big words, purpose, okay, or in order to. So let's look at some examples when para is being used to express the purpose of something or communicating in order to. When we are using para in this context with purpose, okay, para is usually going to be followed up by a verb. So let's look at some examples. So voy a Madrid para visitar amigos. You can see that following para, we have a verb, okay? So why are you going to Madrid? Oh, in order to visit my friends. So we can see how para here is used to express the purpose, our goal, our reason for going to Madrid, to visit with friends. Let's look at another example. I say, uso gafas para ver mejor. Uso gafas para ver mejor. I use glasses para in order to see better. Okay, so we see that after para here, we are following it up with a verb. Now, on the contrary, when would you use por? Okay, so we just looked at para for purpose. Now we're going to look at por for motive or reason. And we kind of can use this to think about, okay, por, if you could substitute it for por qué, because you're probably going to be using por. What's important to note about this is that when you're using por, it's usually going to be followed by a noun. So let's look at examples. So relating it back to that first example in which I used para. So if I said, voy a Madrid por el trabajo, switching out para for por, what am I communicating? You're communicating that the motive behind going to Madrid is por trabajo, for work. So again, trabajo is a noun, so we see that por here is followed up by a noun, trabajo. So what is your motive for going to Madrid? Oh, por trabajo, for work. Whereas the other one, when we're using para, we're saying this is in order to visit my friends. All right, let's look at another example for por. If I said, he llegado tarde por el tráfico. He llegado tarde por el tráfico. I had arrived late por el tráfico. Okay, por, or because of el tráfico. So in this scenario, I can see, I said at the beginning with this, if you could use por qué, because you're probably going to be using por. So, he llegado tarde porque hay tráfico. I arrived late because of the traffic. But in this case, he llegado tarde por el tráfico. So if you're ever confused, think about these two scenarios, okay? Por, for motive, okay? And then para, in this case, to show the purpose or in order to. The second set of scenarios that we're going to look at in which we would use por versus para, we're going to think about using por to communicate the word through in English, as if we are moving through a space. We would use por. On the other hand, we would use para to express the direction or destination towards something. Let's look at a few examples here. If I said, camino por la playa, camino por la playa. As somebody that's speaking Spanish, when I hear you say that, I'm imagining, okay, if you're on the phone with me, you're like, oh, camino por la playa, like I'm walking through the beach, like I'm on the beach and I'm walking through it. Now, if we're on the phone and we're talking and you say camino para la playa, I'm thinking, okay, you're not at the beach yet, but that is your destination. Oh, I'm coming, I'm walking towards the beach, going to there. We are using para. All right, so now I'm gonna add in a slight challenge here. I'm gonna show you how you can use both por and para in the same sentence to communicate something a little bit different. So if I said, el avión para Madrid va por Barcelona. El avión para Madrid va por Barcelona. I'm going to pause. I want you guys to pause. Think about it. Using those two scenarios that I just said for por and para. Para being the destination and por being the through. What do you think the sentence is communicating? So this sentence is communicating the plane to Madrid, okay, Madrid being the destination, goes through or stops through Barcelona. So do we see we use para and por in the same sentence, but one is communicating towards or through, and the other one is saying that's going to this destination. It stops through Barcelona. All right, let's do a little pause for a second with the difference between por y para, and let's hop on the Unacademy app for a quick little lesson. Okay, let's see. All right. El taxi está cerca del coche rojo y de la casa drop roja. Bien. All right, translate to English. Translate to English. Do you have a lemonade without ice and sugar? ¿Tú tienes una limonada sin hielo y con azúcar? Bien, okay. I have a yellow car. Yo tengo un coche amarillo y tú tienes un celular rojo. Bien. Okay, translate. My father has 2 tickets to California. Okay. Mi padre tiene 2 billetes a California. Okay. Last fill in the blanks. Mi familia tiene un coche rojo, un coche azul y un coche gris. Perfecto. Wonderful. I just completed my streak for the day. All right, so the next scenario, jumping back into por versus para, that we would use por for is to express a period of time. Okay, so whether that be per day, per week, per month, per year, we need to use por in these scenarios because it is expressing a period of time. We can also use por to express an approximate period of time as well. But a time period, approximate more or less, you are going to be using por. So over Christmas, I was in Madrid for like 2 weeks. So to say that and communicate that in Spanish, I'm going to say, estuve en Madrid por 2 semanas. Estuve en Madrid por 2 semanas. I was in Madrid for 2 weeks. Another example, okay, you must be a huge yoga person or something, and someone's like, oh, how often do you do yoga? And you say, hago yoga 2 veces por semana. I do yoga 2 times a week. Okay, per week. It is a period of time. I do it 2 specific days. I'm using por there. So when do we use para? Okay, we use para to express a limited amount of time. So you get a piece of paper and it's homework from class, okay, and it's for Monday. You would say, la tarea es para el lunes. The homework is for Monday. That's a limited period of time, okay? So say you got it 2 days ago. Oh, it's for Monday. So la tarea es para el lunes. So you have that scenario of, okay, you've been assigned a project at work and you receive it and you're like, oh, well, when is this project due? Like, when are we presenting it to the company? They might say, el proyecto es para el próximo mes. The project is for next month. Okay, so both examples here are expressing a limited time in the future. Okay, it's for Monday. Oh, it's for next month. It's not really expressing like a frequency like we did with por. All right, let's look at 2 more examples, and they're pretty similar, but one uses por and one uses para. So say that you have a friend and they're in college, okay, and somebody goes, oh, ¿cuándo regresa Ana? When is Anna coming back? Oh, por la Navidad. Por la Navidad. Around Christmas. So when is she coming back from college or wherever she is? Por la Navidad. Around Christmas time. Because remember, yes, we express por to talk about a specific period of time, but also to say approximate times. So that same kind of scenario. If somebody says, ¿Cuándo regresa Ana? And I say, Ana va a visitar su familia para la Navidad. I'm expressing that she will indeed be with her family for Christmas. Our last and final difference between por y para. Hang in there with me. I know you guys are going to master this. We use por to express a person doing something, where we express para for when a person is receiving something. All right, so you're looking at me, okay. Por doing something, para receiving. So knowing those two differences, let's look at these examples. If I said, el regalo es para Ana, what am I communicating? I'm saying this gift is for Anna. Okay, she is the one receiving the gift. She will be receiving that gift. El regalo es para Ana. And this next example, Don Quijote fue escrito por Cervantes. What am I communicating? I use por here. Por is saying that Cervantes is doing something. Cervantes had written, essentially, or wrote, or like the story Don Quixote was written by Cervantes. Okay, he was the one doing the thing, the writing. Let's look at one more example with this. La pintura fue pintada por Picasso. The painting was painted by Picasso. Okay, he's the one that did the thing, the painting. Okay, we use por here. Now, let's do a quick recap. I'm going to put all of the reasons that we said we use por up on the screen. So por, the first one is motive. The second one we use to communicate the word through, or walking, passing through a place. We also use por to express an approximate amount of time or a specific time period. So like 2 times a week, or approximately 3 times a week I read. And lastly, we use por to express somebody doing something. The painting was painted by this person. Okay, they did the thing. The book was written by this person. They did the thing, they wrote the book. Now on the other side, let's look at all of the reasons that we said we would use para. So we use para to talk about purpose, so in order to, destination or direction, para to also express a period of time, a limited period of time. The homework is for Monday. The project is due next month. And finally, we also use para to express a person receiving an item, an action, something. So let's end this video with 3 practice sentences. I'm going to put sentences on the board, and you guys are going to pick which answer goes in the correct blank. Is it por or para? We just did that quick recap, so if you took notes or wrote that down or need a refresh, go back or get those out because you're going to need those for the next 3 examples. Make sure you put your answers in the comments so that I can see how we're doing and how we're progressing with por versus para. Our first example, compré este libro, blank, mi padre. I'm going to use por or para here. Since my dad is receiving the book, I'm going to say para. Compré este libro para mi papá. Ejemplo número 2. Después del trabajo, quiero ir blank el bar. After work, I'd like to blank el bar. Which one are we going to use? Por or para? In this case, I would use para because I'm expressing that my destination that I'd like to go to is the bar. And when do I want to go there? After work. And our final practice for you guys today. El próximo año vamos a viajar blank África. El próximo año vamos a viajar blank África. Por y para. Which one? This one is kind of a trickier, but I really want you to think, okay, all the reasons we use por and all the reasons that we use para. In this case, I would say por, because we're going to be traveling all through Africa. So next year, we're going to travel through Africa. Por. Alrighty, you guys, we have tackled por versus para. If you have any lingering questions about this, please let me know in the comments. I'm going to leave you with one last little tidbit. I am a huge visual person, so I could have a whole list of the difference between por y para and it's great and I can study it, but I'm also so great with the visuals. So I'm going to put up here a slight visual so that you can understand, maybe with more visuals, the difference between por y para. Pause this video, screenshot it, draw it in your notes, because I guarantee you having the visual there is going to help you a little bit. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on Everyday Español for the differences between por y para. Stay tuned next time for more Spanish just like this on Everyday Español. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. I love you guys. Adios.